I'm Judah.
And, Zion.
And we are the Amateur Film Critics. And today we are reviewing a strange movie. The next 4 movies are going to be very random. And that's because, well, we sort of, Zion was at my house for the weekend and we just took a trip through some very, very weird movies. It was just, we were all over the place. We probably watched how many? 10 or 12 movies this weekend?
Probably.
So yeah. But today we're doing Citizen Kane. This is proclaimed a classic for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason it is.
But let's just get right into it, because I think we got some stuff to say. When a reporter is assigned to decipher newspaper magnate Charles Foster Kane's dying words, his investigation gradually reveals the fascinating portrait of a complex man who rose from obscurity to staggering heights. Though Kane's friend and colleague, Jedediah Leland, and his mistress, Susan Alexander, shed fragments of light on Kane's life, the reporter fears he may never penetrate the mystery of the elusive man's final word, Rosebud. Okay, so that's the plot summary.
Is the plot.
Weird movie. It is a weird movie. I was not at all what we were expecting. But I guess let's just get right into it. First on the list, we have how it began. So Zion, it really starts with telling you this whole man's life. First,
it's very hard to follow.
I followed it fine, I feel like, but it is
just
a little bit confusing.
And plus, you don't actually really need it because they basically tell you everything.
Well, I actually kind of liked the beginning. I thought them telling you how his life was. They told you the main events on his life with no deeper details, so that way it sheds new light on them as you go back through and see everything else. That's my take on it, though.
Okay. I liked how it actually began with him saying Rosebud and then him dropping the thing, but when they cut to it being a newscast, I thought that,
You thought that was strange?
I thought it was weird. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it.
You don't know how to feel that? Okay, alright. Well, I do agree with you on, they do set up a real nice, I feel mysterious tone with that beginning, with that very opening scene. And then it shifts really quickly. But, that was definitely intentional, the shift in tone to be that whole newscast thing, because we're introducing our character who's going to be doing all the questioning as a reporter and all that. But I think it's nice how they showed him. They showed the wider details of this guy's life, and you immediately can see how he's important. But then you go back and you see the deeper moments of it from the perspectives of all his friends. And then on our list we have how it ended, which the twist was strange. Spoiler alert, Rosebud was the name on his sled from when he was a child. And that's important because his parents sort of just sold him to the bank after they got money or whatever. I'm confused how that worked, but
it's weird.
How do you feel about the twist?
It showed. I kind of liked it because it showed how, in the end, all the things he did were pretty much worthless. Because then they just immediately burn most of the things in the house. For some odd reason, they choose to burn the things instead of
Well, he was kind of a hoarder, and they just had to get rid of some of that stuff. They had no idea what they were going to do with it. I feel like it was not a huge reveal for me. It didn't feel huge. It doesn't help that you sort of called it, halfway through the movie. We're watching it and Zion's I think I might know what it is based on my pop culture knowledge. And he says the sled, and I'm oh yeah, that's probably what it is. And so when it did happen, it was okay.
Okay, yeah, because it's obvious how I realize in the snow globe he looks into,
it's his house,
it looks winter, and so it looks like his house. And so I'm thinking back to that scene where they sold him to the bank on what he had in the house, and so yeah. If you really think about it, it's not really a twist because it can pretty much.
Yeah, they hint at it.
Yeah, they
like I mean, the guy, they really end it with the guy giving the speech, which I can't remember exactly what he said in the speech.
I think it's about how the world will never actually know.
Yeah, it's partly about that, partly about how we don't know the moments of a life, and like, you know, how a lot of times we saw this man through the lens of the news and all that, which is a very interesting concept.
I actually thought that how they did the twist where they were hinting at it through the movie was better than how they do surprise twists like villains.
Oh yeah.
Now to where they never hint at them being the villain, but they just randomly.
Yeah, with
say,
the twist.
Oh,
he's bad.
He's the bad guy. Some movie examples: Frozen and Now You See Me. About those.
Yeah, well, with this kind of twist, it is like, you know, they definitely hinted at it. Like it was there right in front of your eyes, so it does help it. Like when it does finally happen, you're like, oh, how did I not see this and all that.
Yeah, and maybe also a surprise twist. Dylan, man, another film we watched this weekend, Scooby-Doo, but we won't get into that one now.
Yes, oh my.
Really?
Oh my, alright. In all fairness, Scooby-Doo, the surprise twist villains, like, that's the entire thing. They're always unmasking a person.
Yeah, but
it's supposed to be surprised.
It was really random.
It was really random.
We'll get to that in a later episode. But. So
now, Zion, tell me how you feel. Do you like the way they delivered the narrative of this guy's life? How the story was told?
Yeah, so in the middle parts, I don't like the news things, but I kind of like how through the interviews of the people,
yeah,
they slowly reveal it too.
I think it set up an interesting concept that gets used a lot throughout cinema and history and all that. So it's very, you know, it's definitely an interesting. It's definitely. I feel like it was nuanced for then. I mean, this movie's so old that it had to nuance some stuff.
Yeah, I think this kind of invented that kind of trope.
Yeah. So it's a very I think it is a very interesting, like, you know, delivery of the story. It's also interesting because it shows you each of the characters' perspectives more in depth that way. Like, so we know that. What was it? His friend's name was Leland, right? Like, we know he started to resent him as time go on, and we can see that happen throughout. Even earlier in his, like, you know, banker friend, or the CEO of the Inquirer after the guy died, we could see from his perspective that you saw Leland starting down him, even though it was from someone else's perspective. It shows you an interesting, like, you know, perspectives from each of the different characters. And I thought that was nice. The story, though, like throughout the entire story, like his life it's not as interesting as the story as you would have liked. Then it's almost composed mostly of, like, for being honest, the story of his life is composed mostly of things that would be tropes nowadays.
Yeah, this is a kind of a boring movie.
Like,
it's not.
I mean, yeah.
When I was going into it, I had, from the way The Simpsons, like, were playing up to this film, I thought this was going to be a political drama.
You thought this would be more political,
so I thought it would be more interesting, but nope, it's about his wife's mainly and his dying newspaper industry and how he...
Yeah, well, a big part of the story is that, like, you know, everybody thought he would be, like, president one day, but his political career gets ended by him... By
basically the romances he chose.
Yeah.
And all that.
And I'm not one to I'm not I'm not exactly ever. I know you're more against like romance stories than I am. Like, I made Zion. He's not against all romance stories, but he's against them more than I am. I made him watch Crazy Rich Asians, which I really loved. He hated it. But
I mean, this is at least kind of better than that.
Yeah, but I would say like it wasn't a super interesting.
No,
there wasn't enough. I would say there's not enough endearing qualities, or like the characters are not like, you don't get invested enough in the characters.
You're not
to feel.
I think that's
the romance of it makes.
Yeah, sense. I think that's also because of how old it is. You're not.
As far as like the moments in his life, the storylines of his life that were more interesting. First of all, the very initial one where his family comes into money and goes to the bank, that's new. Like, that's something that you don't see, which might be because it's kind of unrealistic. I'm honestly not sure how that legally works out. I don't know what's going on there. But then you also have, but then the other one that stuck out to me was how she didn't want to be a singer in a way. She just wanted to live out his life, but he forced her in a way because he was always trying to prove a point. Like that was the more interesting storyline to me. But as far as the rest of them went, they all fell flat.
Yeah.
Like,
so, the thing about the bank adopting him basically kind of reminds me of a movie you haven't seen, but I've watched a couple of times. It's the Truman Show, in that one basically a TV show channel adopts a child, and then you turn his life into a TV show. Okay. That's what it kind of reminded me of. But.
Yeah. So that's what's up with the story, but we've already talked a little bit about the characters, but I think we need to talk about them more in depth now. So first of all, we have Charles Foster Kane. I couldn't remember his first name for a second.
Played by Orson Welles,
who we love. We love Orson. Well, okay.
What have you seen?
I personally, I've liked what was it?
He did
the news broadcast of War of the Worlds. I really love that one. Yeah. I actually don't know much about the guy himself, so I'm not going to say that I love Orson Welles because he could have done some awful things. But I like some of his work. So it was, and I think as far as acting went, he did really good portraying the character, especially because I think he was portraying the older version of him too. Like, I think the only version of himself that he didn't play was when a child. Yeah. So that's I gotta say, that's very good. The makeup was, the age makeup was really good too. As far as the character goes, it's interesting to see the there's no, what's the word for it? There's no, making you like his character again. It's just a downward character, development the entire time. And so that's kind of interesting because to think about, this is the title character and all that. To see his character, not be redeemed at all, I think that was an interesting choice, probably for the better. If the storyline of how he got there was just a little more interesting, I think it would have really made this movie work. There's definitely, I would say it's definitely a unique character. He did start out wanting to do good, but as time went on, his need to feel to, almost prove a point and always be right, that sort of corrupted him throughout his business and, his political, career, all that. That was interesting to me, but at the same time, the story, in my opinion, is the story that really, kind of messed up this movie.
It's the story that they didn't really make his character interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the character had opportunities to be interesting.
Yeah, he could have been interesting, but where the story went, he just turned into a bland character who basically, and at the end, becomes very self-absorbed with all his materials.
Self-absorbed and bitter with all his materials.
It doesn't treat his wives that well, which leads to our main topic.
Yeah, the wives of the main characters. So those are sort of the two other big characters. The ones I see the most of, I would say.
So the first wife leaves him because he basically becomes too absorbed with his newspaper
and
that
his
he
work.
barely takes care of his family, and so
the like big sort of like line in the sand for her was when she finds out that he met with another woman, and although they never did anything,
they didn't do anything, but she thinks they,
and it does feel like that way because eventually that character Susan and Mr. Kane, Charles, that's his name, get married, so there was something there, and she had every right to suspect it. I will say, we never got a definitive look at her death.
Yeah.
Like I know in the movie they say that they get divorced, she dies, and then 2 weeks later he gets married to Susan. So you can infer it to be that like maybe he killed her. We're not sure. There's nothing that says that, and I really doubt it because his son also died in this car wreck, which would be I mean, maybe I couldn't imagine this man killing his son, but it'd be really rough.
Yeah, and so that leads us to the next wife, which basically she's a singer, basically, and so but he seems to be the only one who thinks she has great material, and so he builds this gigantic opera house and forces her to practice. So, and on the beginning night, basically, of her play, basically everyone hates her singing, and it performs not too good. And so he basically applauds like very forcefully.
Yes,
try to...
he did applaud very forcefully. That was a strange scene. I'll be honest, that was a strange scene. And like she was like, her motivations were like she like you said, she didn't almost want this way. I mean, I think she would have thought it'd be cool. Like it was sort of like a very like big like one of those like crazy dreams like where she could be a famous singer. She was working for an opera house as like I want to say like a music like she didn't write the music but she wrote it out on the paper for everyone. I think that's might have been what she did, but you can see like she didn't want this, especially after like the pressure of it all got to her. What she truly did want though was to like be with Kane.
Right.
And so like it's like all she wanted in a way was to grow old with him. And so when she finally did quit, like he built this gigantic house for them, and like she never got to see him anymore. He was almost just cared about his image in a way. Like, going on picnics with rich people in a way.
Yeah.
And because he didn't care for her, she like started to hate him, which I mean I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we've changed settings, we've changed clothes. That is because it has been multiple days, and let me tell you, a lot has happened in those multiple days. Basically, in the middle of our filming, Zion actually had to leave. And so we planned on just picking up filming later. But since then, I have sprained my ankle and I cannot walk anymore. So, yeah, like when I say a lot's happened, a lot's happened.
A lot has happened.
We're pretty sure that we got to an okay, stopping point in our discussion topics last time we filmed. So we're just going to go right in and talk about our favorite character from Citizen Kane. So Zion, honestly, this is a tough question because none of them are super likable in my opinion, but what do you think?
Not that. I don't think it's that tough because my favorite character is... it's the dude who teaches the lady opera in the film. Do you know which character?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. How is he your favorite character?
I mean, who else am I supposed to choose here?
Okay, Wow, that was just like such a like out of nowhere character for me. I don't even know what to say for my favorite character. You know what? I'll go with the dude, uh, the the kind of stereotypical Italian guy that taught her opera. I'll go the same with you, Zion. Um,
Yeah.
that brings us next to our favorite scene. And Zion, what are you thinking for your favorite scene?
Uh, the ending scene, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean, none really
I mean,
stands out besides the ending scene.
it was a very good dramatic reveal. I feel like,
Yeah.
even if the entire the plot, like, yeah, because we talked about the twist. It is a good reveal,
Yeah.
and the way they do the reveal does work very well. So I think that's a
Uh-huh.
good scene. Probably your favorite.
Yeah.
Honestly, hmm. Yeah, I think I might go with that one too because I feel like that's
Yeah.
what the movie's leading up to in a way is that
Yeah.
scene right there. So like
Yeah.
and it's got
But
really good
yeah.
cinematography and all that. The way they throw it onto the furnace. So yeah, Zion,
Yeah.
we're in agree.
And so before we do the rankings part, I forgot to add a category that I said I was gonna do
Yes.
my what I didn't like about the movie. Uh, I think I've talked already about how I didn't like the newscast part. I think we already discussed all that,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't. I don't know. I don't think that part held up that well in my
Mhm.
opinion when most of the other parts of the movie hold up. Okay, okay. I just didn't think the newscast part held up
Okay. Yeah.
that well.
Well,
Um, yeah. So that man, I didn't like how it more focused on his love life in the later parts of the movie and
yeah,
not on the governmental side.
yeah, and
I think
that's
I've already talked about
yeah,
all
you
this,
talked about
but
that. And again, that really does shock me that
yeah,
in a way. Well, okay, it doesn't shock me that you wouldn't be interested in his love life and personal life. What shocks me is that you were wanting more of a political thriller from this.
well, cause I had watched how many times the Simpsons have parodied the
Yeah,
film, and I was expecting, and from those parodies, I was expecting kind of him to get more political
yeah.
when honestly it's more about love and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I
yeah,
understand how you thought that. I mean, I honestly thought it would be way more political than it was too, especially with
yeah,
like the famous scene being the one of like his speech, like you know what I mean, with
yes,
the gigantic background
yes,
picture. Like that's
yes,
one of the
and
most
that's
favorite
why
famous
I was
things from this, and that's
expecting.
what I know most about this movie going
Yeah,
into it. So yeah, I
yeah,
understand why
yeah,
you were expecting that. I was just surprised that I'm just kind of surprised you were actually wanting that because like that doesn't seem
yeah.
much of like up your alley. I've tried to get you to watch West Wing how many times now?
You well, I'm not gonna watch West
You
Wing
don't.
yet.
Okay, okay. Well, all right. Now it's time to rate it, Zion.
Time to rate this thing. I'm gonna give this maybe 2.5. I guess I don't,
Okay.
which people might get
Th-
mad at, but
Well, if they're gonna get mad at you, they're gonna get mad at my two. So
yeah,
honestly, like, yeah, like it was surprisingly underwhelming. Like I was
it
really
was underwhelming.
expecting because people really do call this a classic, and yet it was surprisingly like
Yeah,
underwhelming. I don't see. I mean, I do get how some of the stuff they were probably. Uh, I just don't think it holds up. As time went on, it didn't hold up.
yeah,
I can sort of see how back in the day it was probably a really good
mhm,
movie and it got really popular or whatever. But
yeah,
just nowadays, the story is not as interesting. It just doesn't hold up. Honestly, it's kind of strange.
Yeah. Yeah. The beginning scene before the news cast, which that's probably my other favorite scene in the
Mm-hmm.
film, kind of set you up as, no, this is going to be a weird but fascinating movie when none of the shots really do that
Yeah,
in the rest of the movie, I would say.
yeah.
You know.
It totally sets this whole mysterious in like
Yeah.
it's a dramatic and mysterious tone, and it keeps the dramatic tone the rest of it, but the mystery of it just all goes away because they tell you all of his life in the
Yeah.
beginning, and I did like that a bit, but then when they go in, there isn't that much added to it other than just the gritty details. And while I sort of enjoy that
Right.
format, it doesn't when it's not like revealing new things, like when it's not
Yeah.
when it's not dropping huge like twists in ways that make you look at this so much differently. It's lackluster.
Right.
So that brings us to the end of Citizen Kane. um
Yes.
for once, this is a classic movie that we're honestly not recommending you watch. Like I feel like
No.
even in some of the classic movies that we didn't like
Yeah.
as much, we say you should probably we would say you should probably watch this
Yeah.
considering how much of a classic it is. But this one, I don't see any reason for anybody to
Wait.
go back and watch it.
Did you actually give the say so, or
Yes, yeah, I'm giving it a 2. Sorry, it was kind of like muddled in there. I'm
okay?
giving it a 2, which is
Yeah.
surprising because I honestly thought you would give lower than 2.5. But yeah, I'm giving this a
I
2.
mean, I was trying to be more generous in
Yeah.
because it is called a classic and how old it is. So I was trying to be generous in that there weren't a lot of more interesting films at the time. So
Yeah.
that's part of why I gave it what I gave it. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. So that brings us to the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Uh,
yes.
Follow our Instagram. There should be a link in the description, but if
Even
there's
though,
not, it's at Amateur Film Critics. Uh,
yeah, even though we barely post
we
on it,
barely post on
please
it, but
go.
maybe eventually we'll decide that we want to post regularly on it. Um, but for now, thank you for watching. Make sure to join us next week when we review a really out of nowhere movie. Um, I'm just saying, y'all, this is
More,
good.
well, we don't really know how we're scheduling these. We may,
I think we should try to schedule them as like in the order that we filmed them. But in that case,
yeah,
if we don't, but if we
if
do, you
we
guys would
do,
never be able to guess what we did for next week's movie. I'm just telling you right now. It's gonna
yeah.
be strange, y'all. But we'll see you then. Thanks for watching,
See
Zion.
you then.
You got a last message
Goodbye.
from him? Goodbye.